Anyone need to stretch? Go ahead. It won't hurt my feelings. Stretch it out. Let's see, before I start, I just take a minute and say thank you to Sandy and your team, and thank you to Ambassador Thorne. I'm thrilled to be here. I have the opportunity to speak in the US a little bit, and I can tell you that Venice wins without question. It's a great venue. And by the way, I wasn't being polite. I've just always wanted to be on stage and say thank you, Mr. Ambassador. So check that off the list. Let's see if I can make this work. So I'm going to talk about social media as it relates to small businesses from a marketing perspective. Help. Help. Anyone have any advice for me here? I can do it with my hands. I need to get to the Prezi. Point it that way? Okay. Oh, look at that. Okay. I don't know if any of you have seen this website before, but it's called Facebook. And I want to get an example of a small business in your mind. And I think a small business that represents some of the things that most small business owners face. This is a vertical response customer called Bliss Honeymoons. It's a company that does destination wedding planning and honeymoons. And there are a few things about it that are common to small businesses. It's a small company. They have 4 principals, I think, and the principals are really the only folks that are doing the marketing. So they don't have a professional marketing department. And as a result, they're doing all the social media themselves. So they're small, and they don't have a professional marketing department, and they rely very heavily on referral and word-of-mouth business for new customers. So I think these are relatively common themes when it comes to small businesses. And I want you to think about these guys as I get into the meat of what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to cover 3 things. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about why I think social media is such a cool and interesting opportunity for small businesses as a marketing channel. And then I want to talk about some of the challenges that they face. Because as a small business owner or operator, it's hard to leverage these tools. So I'll talk about the challenges, and then I'll get into the meat of some suggestions for how to overcome those challenges. But before I do that, come on, baby. You can do it. Please. Okay, look at that. Okay. So a little bit about my background. I'm an entrepreneur. I founded my first company in 1997. It was a vacation rental home company and sold it in 2000 to a company called Expedia. Terrific experience. And then I spent many years, of course I'd done small companies, so I had to go work for the largest company in the world. So I went to work for Walmart and built a big piece of their e-commerce business. And then I got bit by the startup bug again, so I started Roost several years ago. Roost was actually initially a residential real estate website, and I had the amazing genius and foresight to start it in 2007, about 18 months before residential real estate exploded as a business. So fortunately, I raised enough venture capital to be able to survive, so I had raised about $13 million in capital. And we transformed the business into a platform for small businesses to do social media marketing. A lot of our customers were thinking about Facebook and Twitter, and so that's what Roost became, a way to help them with those platforms. And in December of last year, VerticalResponse, which I'll talk about in a minute, acquired our company. So today I run social and the social platforms for VerticalResponse. I'm going to have to figure out how to be ahead of this, huh? So VerticalResponse is it's an email marketing platform for small businesses. We actually do a lot of things. We have hundreds of thousands of small business clients who use us to do email newsletters and now social media and other tools, surveys and events and things like that. And our vision is to build an integrated relationship management platform for small business. We don't really believe over time that email and social and these other ways to communicate with your customers will be siloed. We think they'll come together, and that's our plan, is to build that platform. So let's shift gears and talk about why this is an opportunity for small businesses. I don't know if Carlo from Google is still here. I forgot to put Google Plus on the slide. So if he's gone, don't tell him, right? Note to self, do not make Google mad. But when we think in the US about social media and social networks, we think about Facebook primarily. Our small businesses tend to think about Facebook first. Christian, that's a plug for you, by the way. And then Twitter and LinkedIn, and increasingly Pinterest is coming on the radar screen. So, these are the platforms that people are asking us for help with. And, small businesses, we believe, have a particularly interesting opportunity to leverage these platforms. Because as a small business owner, I'm thinking about Jen from Bird Brooklyn yesterday. As a small business owner, you tend to have very strong relationships, oftentimes face-to-face relationships with your customers. And so the social web is an amazing way for you to help cultivate and strengthen and grow those relationships. So that's number one, helping your strongest relationships grow. Number two, it provides a very natural way to get to your customers' friends, right? And that's really the magic of the channel. If you do a good job with social media, you're reaching beyond your own network and into the networks of your friends and customers. For the most part, these are free tools, and I'll talk about the costs associated with these in a minute, but for the most part, they're free. So let's talk about challenges. Small businesses obviously just don't have time. Time is the scarcest resource if you're an owner or operator of a small business. So, it's about the time to learn new platforms and the time to manage those new platforms. That's a big challenge. It's also something that's intimidating, right? This landscape changes a lot. Think about, 2 years ago, we didn't even have Pinterest, right? So these channels change so much and so fast. If you're a small business, how do you stay on top of that? And one thing that people don't understand, I think, widely, but in our opinion, and it's been talked about quite a bit at this conference, which is great, content really is king. Content is the hero of social media marketing. And so the challenge for small businesses is content strategy. And what I mean by that is how to come up with great content. What is great content? How to use it, right? These are hard things to figure out on your own. So I'll shift gears for a second from the challenges to talk about what we think helps people be successful. And I'll start with talking about the three tenets of an effective social media campaign. The first one really is clear objectives. And this is sort of obvious and people talk about it a lot, but the reality is most of our customers will dive right in and just try to figure it out as they go without really any conception of what they're trying to achieve. So I would argue no matter what you set your initial goals as, you want to set some goals. And in the early stages as a small business owner, my suggestion is you're probably thinking about building your audience, building more likes, building more followers, et cetera. And as you get more sophisticated, you'll start to think about how you drive sales or people into the store or promote offers and things like that. The second thing that's core is consistent and compelling content. So you want to be consistent. You want to have a constant presence. You need the content to be compelling and ideally related to your business on some level. If it's totally tangential or it's totally spammy, you're probably not going to be successful. And the last thing is you're going to want to measure how well you do. So if you're trying to grow your audience, you're going to want to watch how that audience grows. So now I'll talk about some specific tips for effective social media campaigns. Again, through the lens of the small business owner. I know we have a mix of folks here. We've got some entrepreneurs and we've got all sorts of folks, but we think primarily about the small business owner. So the first tip is to leverage tools like clickers to help you be effective and efficient and generate some ROI. People don't have time, as we talked about, so there are great tools out there that will help you be efficient in terms of scheduling interesting content over a long period of time, giving you the analytics on what's working, actually suggesting content to you. So Roost, our product, actually has a content library in it that you can leverage. There are all sorts of great apps out there. In the US, there are too many to name, and it's a good thing for the business owner and maybe not such a good thing for me, but the great news is there are tons of great free tools out there to leverage. This is an important point. People should be taking advantage of the content that they already have. There's really no reason to reinvent the wheel, right? If you're a travel agency, if you think back to my Bliss Honeymoons example, if you're a travel agency, you have a blog or you have offline materials that you can turn into a blog with lots of great content that can form the hub of the wheel for you, and then you can distribute that content through the social web. So I would imagine that the vast majority of small businesses have some form of content. It could even be offline brochures and things like that they can start with. We believe in a heavy emphasis on photos and video and media in general. We know that media tends to generate more engagement in the social web, and in many cases, on many platforms, it generates more impressions as well. So we highly recommend photos and video. This is actually one of our clients who is a Honda dealership in Minnesota, and that's their Pinterest board, and they also have a YouTube channel. And they use these as basically center points, and then they tease people in Facebook and Twitter to come visit these places to view media. So contests and games, you know, people snicker when I talk about contests and games, and I always sort of snicker a little bit too, but actually the reality is they really work. And this is an example of a customer of ours, a flower shop, Tilly's Flowers. I think she's in Ohio somewhere. And her standard game is every day she has a name day where if she publishes, you know, the name, today's Christina Day, and if your name is Christina, you get a % discount off the flowers from her shop that day. And it's a fun game. She's built a little bit of a brand for herself around it. She's generated a lot of engagement. And I think most importantly, it's very repeatable for her, right? She doesn't have to rethink a new contest idea every couple months, right? She can just bang this contest out every day, and it's fun for her. So I highly recommend these types of efforts. A couple miscellaneous tips. I would say, and we believe in mastering a channel, or at least getting proficient in one channel at a time, or one network at a time, before you step into more networks. We've seen too many people try to learn too many new platforms and kind of fail at all of them. And the last thing I'll throw out is a nugget that we learned. Cross-channel is actually interesting. So we have a large database of small business customers, hundreds of thousands of small business customers who use a lot of different tools. And when we looked at our database, what we found is the folks who use social media and email together actually tend to get higher click-through rates on their emails than the folks who didn't use social media. And 30% higher, so significant. And, you know, intuitively, you know, I think that makes sense, because if you think about these businesses, if I have customers who I'm interacting with on the social web, presumably they may be more open to clicking through to an email they get from me because they have a little bit more trust in our relationship, or I'm more top of mind from them. So cross-channel matters. A couple last things, and then I'll wrap it up. Let's talk about cost. So, you know, the cost thing is a good news, bad news thing. Most of the social media tools out there are effectively free or very low. So our tools cost a small subscription price, for example. But they're not expensive for a small business owner to leverage. The expense is really in time. And unfortunately, time is typically the scarcest resources that this person has. So again, it takes you back to using tools to be efficient and being smart about how you use your time. It's paying off for our friends at Bliss. And I can't connect. Well, that's good, because that's my last slide. So you can follow me on Twitter. It's @AlexChangSF. Or email me at achang@verticalresponse.com. I'm sure something will get circulated. Oh, there you go. I love to talk about startups, and I'm passionate about social media. And as an entrepreneur myself, I've been through a lot of ups and downs in capital raising and pivoting the business. So happy to chat with anyone about those things. And with that, I'll wrap it up.